When he was on this racist ramble, he looked like a demon. I could hear the 2 generations before him speak just as loud as he was standing there in front of me.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back. So my usual disclaimer, this video is strictly for educational purposes. Please do not go searching out the people that I talk about in this video. Do not send them any form of hate comments, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So I came across this video by this black lady. I think she's actually African from what she said in the video at some point. It's 5 minutes long. She really got into it. Let me just play her video.
I had my first real racist encounter with a white man a few hours ago, so this is fresh. My emotions are also fresh, but I still feel like it's the best time to do this. He's my neighbor, a hardworking man. I've been living in this house for 17, 18 years. This man saw me grow up since the age of 9. He owns a bakery next door with his wife, and last year he started renting 2 public parking spots for his shop. And this morning, my sister forgot to move her car. It's not the first time, I'll admit that. He came knocking on our door like an enraged Neanderthal. And when my 70-plus-year-old dad opened up the window from his bedroom, he was called an idiot, an imbecile. As soon as he noticed me from my window, he started speaking Dutch instead of French. I also speak Dutch, by the way. I live in Belgium. And then he goes on his race rampage. You're all the same. You can't integrate yourselves. This is why people hate you in this country. You guys sit here and do nothing. I have to live from my bakery. I'm a NICU nurse, by the way. I work night shifts, and he knows that. Europeans love to shit on Americans, but wait till you hear them talk about Africans. When my sister was standing in front of his door 5 minutes later, he started apologizing and even came and rang our doorbell again to apologize to my father. But that's not the point. When he was on this racist ramble, he looked like a demon. I could hear the 2 generations before him speak just as loud as he was standing there in front of me, his parents and his grandparents. This was his occasion to let it all out. The man I've known for years is nothing but a shell. All he needed was a little push. My parents haven't birthed a single jobless child. All of us have higher education degrees, and we're a football team of kids. Literally. Yet, to him, we're all doing nothing while he has lived the life of the most hardworking man in the world. I'm the youngest of my family. I'm 27. I speak French and Dutch fluently, both of Belgium's official languages. I'm a nurse. I take care of babies. But that didn't matter. His perception of black people, which many people in Belgium share, by the way, never changed and probably never will. We are making it in society with borrowed kindness. That man went as far as saying his own customers feel bad that he has to live next to black people. He put his own customers on blast to make a point. I work twice as hard to be perceived as a nice person and a good nurse. Do you know the pressure of being a black nurse taking care of white babies in a predominantly white country where people fight for this to remain a tradition? One misunderstanding, one wrong move, one misinterpretation, and the burden of that situation will be carried onto the black community as a whole. Don't get me wrong, I pamper all my babies and all my moms. But white babies, especially when the parents speak Dutch, I pamper them with tweezers. I'm sorry, I might just need a moment, but I do all of this just to end up being called lazy, useless, and a waste of space because of a parking spot. I have to be extra sweet, gentle, and kind everywhere I go. Otherwise, it'll be these black women aren't feminine, they're always angry. This is my daily life. Talking to men in general already scares the shit out of me, but talking to a white man? What if he flips one day? If it's not him, who is it around him? How and by who was he raised? How were his friends raised? Who does his family vote for and why? What did they talk and joke about at family gatherings when I wasn't around yet? Don't worry, I know your fantastic, handsome, wonderful husband would never. But how do you take that leap of faith? My fear is real. I can't fathom the thought of being a minority in my own family, my own home, my own bedroom. What if he asks me for race play one day? Imagine being made uncomfortable at dinner around Christmas time and you're the only black person there. This sounds like my worst nightmare. I even turned down this adorable guy called Benjamin because what if I get stuck? There were other things, so please don't tell me to call him. I don't want my partner to have to fight for me or defend our love. I just want peace. I don't want to go through all these additional measures on top of my usual screening. I know people will say not to generalize, but frankly, I don't care. We're talking about my safety, my mental health, and my well-being. I come first. What you call reverse racism might end up with you having a bad day. Because of racial bias, I'm 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. I'm more likely to be misdiagnosed or have a delayed diagnosis. I'm more likely to be discriminated against when looking for employment. My children will probably inherit from my generational trauma. And on top of that, I might get killed. The fight that I'm in for women on this page is already hard enough. But my intersectionality makes that in my daily life, I have to struggle with the combined load of racism, sexism, misogyny, fat phobia, and on top of that, racial bias from other minorities, which doesn't even make sense to begin with. Sometimes I just need a break. I need a break. Okay.
So I think the first thing that struck me about that video was the fact that she said this man in question practically watched her grow up, and you would think that someone who knew the family, who had been around the family, who was a neighbor for that long, would know the kind of people they are, right? And you'd also think that if he was a ray to deceased, she would have already known prior to then. So it just goes to show how many years they had lived together without this man actually displaying that side of him. One of the hashtags she used was undercover ray to deceased. That was one of the hashtags she used. So I think that's the right word, because it's funny how you might know a palm-colored person, you know them so well, you've known them for years, you've interacted with them, and they've always been cool with black people, and then all of a sudden something happens and you find out that they are ray to deceased. I think that was what made it shocking for her, because if it was someone she had already known had those tendencies, she might not have been that hurt as she seemed in that video, right? And I think a lot of times people keep talking about ray to deceasm happening in America. A lot of people don't talk about Europe, but I've heard that it's actually worse there, but that a lot of them are covert or undercover ray to deceased, and this video kind of proves it. I'm just going to go right ahead and play just a few stitches of people responding to her video.
Twice as hard to be perceived as a nice person and a good.
You know, this concept of this black tax thing always has intrigued me, mostly because I never really conducted my life in that way. And, you know, I've done decently for myself. I'm not a fucking doctor or anything like that. I haven't been in certain circles where you really had to present yourself as something else, and I'm okay with that, because personally I'm not willing to tap dance. My question is, when are black people gonna stop? Because the gag is, it's a preconceived notion for a reason. It's preconceived. You didn't have to do anything for somebody to put you in that box except exist. So why care? Why work twice as hard for half if you're still at the slightest inconvenience to these people are going to be thrown into a box that you were already in for real? They just never told you. And the girl's video that I stitched, she was talking about her experience with her white male neighbor, who she had the most racist experience she ever had. He literally watched her grow up. It don't get any more clear of an example than this. There is nothing you can do to change people's minds about the way they see you, and it's also not your job. It's not your job and it's not your business. And if it becomes your business, then you handle it. Now, I don't live in la la lands, right? As much as I would love to, I understand how this simulation work in this space and time. And I also understand how there are side effects. There are, consequences that may come, especially with dealing with white people's adverse behaviors. But I don't care. And the energy that I keeps that energy away from me, and I will continue to do the work so that it does. So there's absolutely nothing you can do to change a person's mind about what they already think of you. When people have a preconceived notion about Black women, that you're loud, you're aggressive, you're this, you're that, and you spend all of your time trying to debunk this by biting your tongue, not expressing yourself, trying to be silent, trying to be quiet, and the minute you say anything, no matter the tone, no matter the diction, you're back in the box of being an angry Black woman. So stop. Let them have the ether. Let them have it all. If you want me to be angry and aggressive, I'll show you what angry and aggressive from a Black woman is like. I'm not going to bite my tongue. I'm not going to work twice as hard. I'm going to call shit out when I feel like it. I am not concerned about what white people think about Black people, what white people think about me, because ultimately it doesn't matter. You can wear the finest clothes, live in the finest houses, drive the finest cars. They're going to look at you and be like, who bought that for you? How can you afford that? Where do you work? Do things because you like them, because you want to do them. Don't do it to be impressing people. Don't change the way you talk or the way you act to appease other people, because it doesn't matter. If they feel a way about you, they're going to do that no matter what you do.
Sexism, misogyny, fat phobia, and on top of that, racial bias.
Among the other things going on in Black women's life, the amount of shit that we have to deal with is just, it's unbearable. It's unbearable. The microaggressions, not only from, of course, those people, but also from other minority groups. Like, you know what's crazy is that I feel I give people chances because I don't want to be a angry Black woman, and I still get treated like trash. It's like, and she lives in Belgium, and I'm just like, where can a Black woman go to find peace, to find a break?
So there were just many things that she said in that video that I want to actually talk about. First of all, she talked about how she knows Europeans are ready to the siege towards Americans, but is worse towards Africans. And I think that's something that doesn't really get talked about as much, because the fact that people already see Africans as this primitive, backward kind of place. So if you're a Black person that's from another part of the world, you'd probably be seen as even more civilized or as being a bit better than someone that's coming from Africa. That's just what I think, like in the mind of these people. Like, Africans are probably like the bottom of the barrel, just right below other Black people that do not live in Africa. That's the way I see it. Then another thing that struck me is the fact that no matter how good you're doing as a Black person, you can be the most educated, you can be the most successful, you might even have married one of them and you feel accepted by them. You might be that successful and you run in circles where they are, you feel like you're part of the gang and all of that. But just one wrong move and you'll be reminded that you are a Black person. You'll be reminded that they are better than you. You'll be reminded that those same stereotypes that you have worked so hard to disassociate yourself from will be used to judge you, will be used to classify you, will be used to define you. So these people that think like this, that have these prejudices against Black people, you can never escape them, no matter your level of education, no matter how hardworking you are, no matter how wealthy you are. Like, as long as you have this dark skin, you're just in a box you can never escape from. And that's really sad. She talked about how she has to work twice as hard so that she's not seen as lazy, how she has to pamper the children because basically there are probably more eyes on her doing her job than if it was other people, maybe other palm-colored people. Then another thing that struck me is the fact that you can't really show emotions. You're just supposed to be this happy, perky, happy-go-lucky, jolly good fellow kind of person when you're a Black person functioning in white spaces, so that you don't get to be seen as loud. You don't get to be seen as a masculine Black woman. You don't get to be seen as angry. So the fact that black people have to basically put on a personality, you cannot show emotions. So if something is being done to you and you want to talk about it, you want to express your displeasure, you have to be careful the tone that you use so that you're not called an angry black woman. I don't know, like our people are expected to just live a certain way and act a certain way just to be accepted by these people. And she also said this is why she's never really been open to interracial relationships, and that struck me. She said, I don't want to be a minority in my own family. And you guys, I wonder, like, not even I wonder, I'm sure that's a thing. I'm sure that's a thing, because your husband might be good, but how about his family, his extended family? Do you have family members that you don't like to be around because you don't like the vibe you get off of them? You know, you would always have to wonder. You might take that leap of faith, but do you ever really know? So I understand what she's talking about, although I know it's not in all situations, but these are questions you're going to ask yourself as a black person that chooses to go into an interracial relationship. So then she also talked about the racial bias from other minorities, and this is just, that is the funny thing. I feel like some people from other minority groups kind of see themselves still better than black people. We still receive this discrimination from other minority groups, other people of color. I'm really sorry that this sister who we're talking about today got to experience this. I know she must feel hurt and probably have to be more careful. And it's funny how you have to be careful even in your own home because you've discovered the kind of person your neighbor is. Well, please share your experiences in the comment section. If you live in Europe, what is your experience with racism? And just let us know. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, share this video as well. I'd really appreciate that. Don't forget to turn on notifications, that way YouTube will let you guys know whenever I have a new video up, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.